Hello, everyone out there in Apatic land. This is your host, Mike Amante, back with another webcast, the first one of the 2014-15 school year. And I am privileged to have yet another one of my rockstar ADE colleagues on this month, none other than Don Goble from St. Louis, Missouri, broadcasting teacher. And he has come up with an awesome new course that he just released on iTunes U that's free on mobile journalism, something that he's very passionate about, and I think he does with his students. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Don, who's going to enlighten.
Okay, we seem to might have cut out there a little bit. Mike, thank you very much for having me this morning.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, mobile journalism is something that really has kind of entered our scene here in the last few years because of the ease and accessibility of the mobile device. So let me just introduce myself a little bit about what I do. So I teach broadcast technology at a public high school in St. Louis, Missouri. We have about 1,400 students. And when I came into this job about 10 years ago, it was to train the future newscasters and filmmakers of the world, potentially, or at least introduce them to this form of learning and visual learning and a different kind of writing style. And what's happened over those last 10 years is that we all have now become video producers and journalists, news reporters, because it doesn't matter where we are. You'll notice, and Twitter is a great example of that, where just a couple of weeks ago, a tweet was breaking news of bombings in Syria, and followed after that were videos of people on their mobile devices. And we had an issue here locally in Ferguson, Missouri, which made national news. And the video of the scene and after the scene that came into play, that everybody is a journalist. Everybody has an opportunity to be a journalist. And so one of the things that I'm really passionate about, and what I've always taught my students and any student who's come across, is a media literacy piece, critically understanding the media that you're seeing, the media that you're consuming, and now the media that we are creating every single day. And the reality is, people are not trained on how to create media. They take out the phone and they hit record. Many times it's maybe vertically, sometimes it's horizontally, which we try to preach. And we can talk about that when I get into the course. But there's not really formal training. And why? Because, well, to be a broadcaster, you would have a large video camera, maybe a lighting crew, and you'd be a reporter, and you'd be classically trained in a journalism school on how to ask questions and how to edit. Well, that still takes place, but the reality is, with an iPad, you can shoot, you can write, you can edit all within a couple of simple apps, and that's really what the course is about. And so through my time here teaching at the high school, I've now traveled the country helping any educator incorporate video in their classroom, because the visual learning process is an amazing way to learn any kind of content. And so what I wanted to do was I wanted to tailor this mobile journalism project to the journalist, but the journalist in all of us. And by doing so, finding an expert in the field of subject matter that we're studying and do an interview of that person. And my hope and my goal is that through this course, that students will learn some basic principles of interviewing, of shooting on an iPad, knowing you don't need microphones and tripods and lighting kits, and those are all really nice to have, but that you can do something that's very productive and valuable quickly and easily, all with the mobile device, which is what the goal is. And the subject matter doesn't matter either. And so that's really what the basis of the course is. And my hope is that any teacher, K to 12, will potentially find a way for it. Although I think it's definitely more tailored for that 6 to 12 grade. I think that would be a great fit. So why don't we get right into that here a little bit. Let's go ahead and I will share the screen here for us so that we can kind of get a little bit into the course. Right now it is a free course. Okay. And I know on your website you will attach the link that anybody can check it out later, and we'll give you a few different ways that you can access the course. Okay. I also wanted to mention, iTunes U course creation was something brand new that I learned this summer. It's an absolutely fabulous tool to kind of put these thoughts together. I had these lessons in different pieces and parts throughout my computer and Google Docs and in some cases old Microsoft Word, and so this has been a wonderful way to create an interactive tool for my students and hopefully students all over the world. So the one we're going to look at here is Mobile Journalism News Package. And I'll go ahead and I'll launch that. And that doesn't want to seem to cover the screen. It's showing up. There we go. Okay. So the way to understand this course is at the top we'll have an overview of the course. So understanding kind of the expected duration and really what mobile journalism is. And so I kind of give a brief definition there of understanding that mobile journalism is an emerging form of media storytelling, in that these devices are mobile. They go with us wherever we go, in our pockets, in our purses, in our briefcases. And so when breaking news happens, we can take that camera out and record some things. But even more importantly than that is schools are incorporating this one-to-one initiative or offering more device choices for students, that they have a different way maybe for a presentation model within a class, so that maybe we can eliminate some of the poster boards or PowerPoint presentations that may have been a part of our traditional teaching and look at different ways for students to be able to deliver their comprehension of what we're studying. So we start by just understanding a little bit about mobile journalism, and in this course you'll see that we will write, shoot, edit, and publish a mobile journalism news package all on our iPad. And I mentioned production accessories are nice. They do, create and produce microphones now and tripods, tabletop, and all these different kinds of accessories for the iPad. But what I wanted to do was figure out a way I could do all of it just with the iPad. And so that's what we're going to do. Moving down, you can learn a little bit more about me. And then as we go into the outline, you'll see that we will introduce the topic. And then it's really important to build understanding for your students. There'll be a lot of different segments and sections in here that we'll want to cover, from sound to shooting tips, videography, storytelling, and we'll do that through building understanding before we get to the application or the applying, the learning, which there is a specific assignment that can be customized by any teacher. As we move along down a little bit further, we have introducing the topic, mobile journalism. Really the impetus is, again, many people are gathering and getting their news from mobile devices, and not only are we getting our mobile news or our news from mobile devices instead of television and newspapers traditionally, as I mentioned before, we are now creating our own. And in fact, CNN has their iReport. They're asking to send in videos. People are publishing videos or video clips on Instagram and Twitter of breaking news. And so there's really an opportunity to seize upon that. As you notice, 56% just a year ago have some kind of smartphone or internet-enabled device, and that's where we're going to for our news. As we get into more of the building the understanding of mobile journalism, we want to talk about what a citizen journalist is. We are all citizen journalists. We may not be in the profession, and we may not work for one of the big networks that are out there, but we all have the ability to be a journalist by being just your regular citizen. And so I think it's important then to understand the different pieces of a journalistic package, news story, that the professionals do. And that's what we're going to teach in this course. And then we're going to apply the learning. So the student in this course will go through three main phases. We'll do some pre-planning, and we'll talk about some apps that are great to use in the pre-planning phase on the iPad, to the production phase, and that's where we'll actually go out and we'll shoot our video. And we'll shoot our video within the iMovie app. And then we'll get into post-production. That's where we want to critique our stories as a class and as a world, but we want to publish it then as well to the web. One of the most powerful things you can do with a video, once it's created, is to share it. And rather than just create and share that project within the four walls of our classroom, let's share it with the world. And we can export our videos easily out of iMovie and send that out to YouTube, Vimeo, or many other websites that we may want to choose. And so we'll talk about the publication or the publishing process in the post-production phase. So let's get into some of the posts. At the bottom, you'll notice posts. And so if we tap on that, you'll notice there are 10 posts, there are 55 assignments. And the other great thing I love about the iTunes U course as an app then on the iPad is that you really can make it collaborative and create discussions. And so in this, students can create discussions, teachers can post questions or discussion topics to their class, and a whole conversation in an online community can occur within this course. And so that's one of the other positives about it. We're just not pushing out information one way, instructor to students. Of course, that is part of it. But the other half of where we'll really breathe some life into this course, in this lesson, is to have those discussions. So as students need clarification on areas, as students are becoming more thoughtful and critically analyzing the media that they are consuming, we can talk about that online. And one thing I found through that, and I have a lot of my students blog, is that the quietest students within the classroom are the loudest students online. And I found out many, many interesting things about my students who they're so quiet and they don't share in the classroom environment, but their writing and the thoughts that are going on inside their brain are very evident when they share that with me in their blogs and now in these discussions as well. So we'll go through the posts there. There's also a place for notes. It's a great place for course notes, audio, video notes, or book notes that I can share as the instructor, or students can share as well. Here are all the materials. If you want to go at the bottom there, you can see all the different videos and books and documents, apps, and web links that we have that are all just kind of in one hosted space. And you can go through each right there to kind of identify which piece of these is a part of the course. So looking at it in totality there, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So let's venture back to the posts. Within the posts, then, we will have different sections. We want to start with some research. Now, research is a great way to begin any kind of project or presentation, of course, and so this fits right into that model. And so what I've done is I've created some documents and some articles for students to follow through on mobile journalism and the transition to digital journalism, understanding what a citizen journalist is, which is really what we all are. And just going to maybe a basic definition of that might help us there a little bit. What is a citizen journalist? And so we'll have the students read those articles and go from there. At the end of reading those articles, though, it's more than just consuming that information. Here's where we'll use another one of our apps in Google Docs. I have found that Google Drive and Google Docs has been a great way for my students to share their information, to collaboratively work by sharing Google Docs together. And so we'll have them do that. We'll have them reflect upon the articles that they read and identify some major ideas and themes. I think it's really important to build an understanding through research on the front end so that it really sets the tone for the entire project. Once we feel like students have a good understanding of the research, we'll move ahead and go down to brainstorming topic and story ideas. Now, this is what I'm really excited about because, you know, initially students will want to think about, well, what kind of story do I want to tell, and, you know, try to make it a huge, big cinematic production. That's not what we want to do. Through this project, we're going to want to identify who an expert is in the story ideas, in the subject matter that we're covering. So take a science class. If we are studying anatomy, we could find an anthropologist potentially in our neighborhood, and maybe at a local university, maybe somebody in our own building, a teacher who teaches anatomy, and they can be our expert, and we can interview them about that story topic. Maybe we're studying U.S. history and the Civil Rights Movement. Well, that expert clearly is that teacher in the classroom who's teaching civil rights, but maybe we can find somebody who lived through the civil rights in our own town and find a way to interview them and get a first-hand account of what they went through during that time period, actually bringing that history to life. Or maybe we're learning some math equations and doing some things in algebra. You know, STEM is very big right now. Well, maybe we could find a local engineer and talk to them about what it is they do every day as a part of their job. And so during this brainstorming topic ideas, we really want to kind of identify who are experts and who are they in our neighborhood. And it's a great way to maybe break some kids out of their comfort zone and reach out and send an email, maybe even make a phone call to a local expert and see if they'd be willing to help us with a class project and talk about the subjects that we're learning in class. As a part of that, I've given some opportunities to go through a slide deck here. For pre-production and making movies with the iPad. Just kind of a good starter, if you will, for students to kind of follow through. And then also then, again, open up a Google Doc and brainstorm some more ideas of all the experts that might be in your community. And this would be a great thing to do as a class and share that doc as a class. We want to move down then to visual storytelling. And really, our students are very visually savvy. This is the YouTube generation. I mean, YouTube is the second most searchable site in the world when people are looking for content and ideas. They're going to look for videos. And so our students already have a background in visual storytelling. And as it relates then to a journalistic visual story, they'll find that telling a visual story is the same as telling any kind of story. It has a clear and definitive and interesting beginning. It has that middle with the rising conflict and introducing of characters. And it has the end. It has the conclusion, the summary, the resolution to our story. And that's really where we want to talk a little bit about in visual storytelling. One of the things that I like to also do as well, and students may not even realize it, is to watch some videos that are already being produced out there. And one of my favorite video storytellers is Steve Hartman. And so I have a segment on there from Steve Hartman, who works for CBS News and has for a long time. And we'll have students watch that video and kind of break it down for the different types of elements that they see in the story. The sound, the narration, the characters that were introduced to us. One of the other great activities that I like, and I can have students either just use notes here within the iTunes U course. They can use the Notes app if they would like on their iPad. They can create a Google Doc, whatever you'd like. But it would be to watch a clip from Britain's Got Talent. Now, this is one from about 5 years ago that introduced us to a character named Susan Boyle, who was an interesting-looking character when she came out on stage where not a lot of people expected much from her, and she ended up belting out this amazing song and totally changed the audience perception of her. And in this course, what I ask you to do, and I ask our students to do, will be to watch that video and identify action that occurs in that video and reaction that occurs in that video. And the reason I do that is because most of the time we think of only visual action that occurs. And in this particular clip, anything with Susan Boyle will be our action when she's talking or when she's singing. But where the real magic happens with this particular video is in the reaction from the judges, the reaction from the audience, and the reaction from the hosts of the show. So what I ask my kids to do is take out then a Notes app or a doc and to just kind of identify, and unfortunately YouTube is going to block me here at school. So I do have this video on my laptop, so we'll go ahead and disconnect here momentarily from the iPad. And what I have my students do is create kind of two columns. In one column they'll have action, and then in the other column they will have reaction. And for each time they see action, they will mark down a check mark. And for each time they see reaction, they'll mark down a check mark. And I'm really going to pray that this screen kind of goes away here because it is not cooperating with me right now. So we'll continue to work on this. I should have known better than to try YouTube at a school that blocks it. So I'll apologize for this momentary.
Don, I'm going to let you work on that for a moment, and you know, this happens on the show all the time. So, and Don, of course, being a journalism teacher, understands, a broadcast teacher, of course, that things happen. So no problems there. Hopefully, Don, you may need to. Now it's all black. You may need to leave the Hangout and come back.
Okay.
That may work. So if you have to do that, then that might work to disconnect you altogether, and then you can come back in.
All right, great. Thank you.
You bet. So hopefully we can get him back on board here and continue with everything. But I think so far with what we have seen, it's fantastic. And I'm not sure. Are you still there, Don? Let me see if he comes back. I do apologize. We're having some technical troubles here. We'll give it a shot. All right, let me see if he can come back. Hmm. Hmm. All right, we're still working on this. Give us a moment and we will come back around. Hmm. All right, I think what we're going to have to do is make this two parts. So we'll stop this here, and then we will pick up with it again when I get back connected with Don. I do apologize for the break in the broadcast.